management, or sponsors.
If you're into rainbows and butterflies and enjoy sugar-coated parenting advice, if you use social media with the hashtag blessed under your significant other on a daily basis, if your child speaks 4 languages before their first birthday and is on the cusp of curing world hunger, this is not the show for you. But if you're a real parent, living in the real world, working, hustling, and just managing to get through every day, you've come to the right place. Join Michelle Dempsey and Rachel Sobel, the realest moms on the block, every Tuesday night as we dive deep into the topics and conversations that everyone else avoids. We're the Keep It Real moms, honest, hilarious, and only slightly censored. If only people saw our rituals.
It's like before you go out on stage, Beyonce gets her crew in a circle, they hold hands, they chant something.
Right.
I'm just imagining. I don't really know. But
right.
Something
You're probably
like that.
right. I'm sure that happens.
I've seen one of those HBO specials of like her concert. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is I'm Michelle Dempsey and this is Rachel Sobel and we're back.
We are back.
We've got a little fire started because we're like hyped up about our topic tonight.
Yeah, it's a good one.
We have Blake in the booth. You know it's going to be a good night when Blake is in the booth. That's the best surprise, ladies. All good things.
All good things. So let's give a little primer what we're talking about tonight. Would you like to?
You'd like me to do the honors?
I'm throwing it to you.
Okay.
Throwing it to my babe in business.
Before I do anything, want to tell you that the color green is great on you.
Thank you. Does it make my eyes greener?
No, but it reminds me of Wedding Crashers when she tries to give a funny speech and she's like, loves the color green, like money.
And it's crickets.
Right. But I'm in that frame of mind right now. I love the color green because it reminds me of money. And I love money. I'm an entrepreneur.
Who doesn't?
And I don't mean that in an obnoxious way. But it's in a way of, here I am. I started my own business, right? It's up to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not depending on a paycheck. I'm not clocking in, clocking out. Whatever money comes into my checking account next, that's based on my hustle.
Right.
And so, when I came up with this topic idea of talking about the truth of entrepreneur life is you're never just coasting.
No,
ever.
Never.
There is no coasting. You're either drowning in work, you don't know what to do with yourself, you feel like you're never going to sleep again, or
it's crickets. Yeah.
It's slow. You're freaking out. You don't know where your next client is coming from or your next charge on your Square
You start
app.
considering selling leggings.
You start considering selling all sorts of weird crap on the internet.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, wait, I'm all good because it goes like this. There's ebbs and flows. And I think that's the most important thing to remember.
And it's normal.
It's normal.
Right.
But no matter what, every time your business either speeds up or slows down, you're going to be freaked out.
Right.
Let's discuss.
In either direction. And it's a very interesting dynamic because like you said, what you as a solo entrepreneur, what you put in is what you get out. So if you decide you're going to coast for a week and just take it easy, that is going to affect the income that comes in.
1,000%.
And I think a lot of people have that misconception like we've talked about before when you go off on your own, like, oh, you're living high on the hog and you're going on vacation when you want and you're doing what you want to do and you're having lunch and you're, going to the gym. It's not like that because the minute you stop working, the cha-ching is not coming in, right?
The first year that I started my business, or the first 8 months, I wasn't working out. I wouldn't even take time to go on the treadmill for 45 minutes or go do whatever I do, walk the circle. I wouldn't do a thing. I wouldn't go to a class because that meant time away from being able to jump on my laptop. And I had this fear that if I even took an hour and I slowed down for an hour, I was going to fall behind. It took a long time before I realized, oh my God, I was not putting myself first in any circumstance, and my work was suffering.
And that goes back to previous conversations we've had about balance, which we all know doesn't exist. However, trying to find it,
balance is BS.
It is. But you do have to take care of yourself, and you do have to step away from the computer and go to the gym or get your hair blown out or do something to keep your sanity because it is very important. It makes you more productive. It makes you, if you're sitting in front of your computer 24 hours a day and all you're doing is work, and you're literally not taking a minute, it does affect your psyche when you're working.
And I used to be that exact way. But to some extent, I was slightly more busy then, I think, because I was taking more projects, some that I wouldn't normally take. Now I wouldn't take all the projects I took at that point. But I didn't really, unless I was going to wake up at 4 a.m. and set aside time then to go to the gym, I didn't have that time for myself. So now I've made a promise to myself that even on my craziest of days and even on my slowest of days when I can be using the time for business development or marketing, I got to give myself that. But I digress. But I don't. That's not a, I don't
I
digress.
do, but I don't.
No,
but I do.
Because that's exactly, if you're going to ask me how I deal with, being either too frazzled or too slow, it's that. Like, that's my release. That's
Right.
like my sense of calm.
Right. Well, and when you're busy and you're, like we said in our pre-show little recording, if you haven't caught it yet, when we film live in the bathroom,
Those are the
really
best. If you're not watching those, like, don't even watch this.
Yeah. As much as it makes you crazy to be buried and you're like thinking how you're going to possibly get everything done, that's obviously the side that you always want to be on, because that's when you know
Right.
that your income is coming in, your bills are covered, you have money to
Exactly.
play with, so it's very daunting to be on the other side of that scenario.
I would much rather, don't get me wrong, like last week, I had one of my busiest weeks. I'm on a project right now that I'm drowning in. And of course, babysitter's out of town, mom's out of town, daughter's sick, home from camp all week. I'm like, of course. Now what am I going to do? It was the most stressful thing, but at the same time, I wouldn't want the opposite.
No.
I wouldn't want to be sitting home with no work to do and my daughter's healthy at
No, if
camp.
you're bored and if you're like looking for things to do, then there's a problem. You got to like reorganize and figure out how you're going to get it together, because it's not good for your business. I started my side hustle of writing when I was still working full time. So I would work all day in an office that I hated with people that I
did that
hated,
too.
and I couldn't take it.
I did that
And then
too.
I would come home, and every time one of my contacts would get in touch with me and say, "Hey, can you write this for me? Hey, can you do a press release? Hey, can you write some web copy?" I said yes to everything because I was trying so hard to build my business so that when I did decide to exit, I wouldn't be left in a lurch and have nothing.
Right.
So, and I was doing the same thing you're talking about now. You have a small child, and it is crazy when you find the hours to work that you thought never existed in the middle of the night to bang stuff out because you want it to be good, you want it to be quality. And so I'm a fast worker. I am. Like, I write very quickly, I get things done very quickly. What I've learned now, having a baby, is that even though I'm working from home, the amount that I get done in an hour and a half, if that kid goes down for a nap, is like what I could not have gotten done in a full day in an office.
No. I know. The level to which you manage your time when it's all on you, like, if you haven't figured out how to manage your time, we need to talk. I can help you. No. I mean, when I developed an actual, not just my content marketing calendar, but like time blocking and like, I'm only going to check email in this 15-minute space of my day. It made all the difference because I've gotten so productive to the point of like, I know that I'm allowing myself 5 minutes to run a load of laundry and then get back to my whatever I was doing.
I always joke, and I have used this analogy a million times, but it is like that scene from Something About Mary where Magda takes speed or whatever she takes, and then she starts vacuuming like crazy, and she's totally effective. That is what happens to me when my child goes down or when my other child is occupied. The amount of stuff that happens in my house, whether it's domestic stuff like laundry or cooking or whatever, or actual writing, is unbelievable.
The writing time, in times of calm is amazing. But I'm not in a time of calm. There's a lot of pieces to manage. There's a lot of moving parts. I have clients of all kinds. Love them all. You guys are the best. But then there's the back end. There's the invoicing, and then there's the marketing.
You need a Jason Sobel. Jason Sobel is my CFO. I don't do any billing.
I've been telling you I need a Jason Sobel for like 25 years now.
I don't do any billing.
Sobel.
Yeah.
JM. No, but I think finding, any entrepreneur who's like, yeah, no, I'm good, I just wait for the next, is unheard of. So I want to know, like, what are you guys, you can comment if you want, if you don't want to call in, but like, I want to know, what are you doing in those times that you're worried about where your next client is going to come from? Are you focusing on your own projects? Are you thinking of a side hustle? Are you out there promoting yourself, networking a little bit more than usual? That interests me because, I've gotten to the point now that when times are slower than usual, my phone isn't ringing as much, I know it's going to pick up again. It's just a matter of time. It's not the beginning where I was like, oh my God, that's it.
Well, it's interesting. For me, it's always worked itself out. The clients that I work for, aside from my own writing, all come from my past. So they're either from my PR past back in Boston, or they're referrals from those people, or they're friends of friends. And so every time something like that happens and I lose a client because they're done with me and they don't need my services anymore, or, just that there's shifting of the stars, something works where like a couple other people come forward and it always evens itself out. It's very, very...
That's what you have to remember. Yeah. Like, if you've started your business and you're passionate about it, like, the universe knows, like, it's coming and it's going to be there. And when one client leaves you and you're heartbroken, I'll never forget the first time I lost a client.
Yeah.
I was working
what did I do different? What can I...
No, and it was nothing. I was working for a nonprofit. Ironically, it was the highest retainer I had at the time. They were out of money. It was the end of the year. They had no budget. They were, so I was lucky they were even paying me at all. And I was devastated. And 2 days later, I got this ridiculous new client that I was so excited about. So I think you have to get to a point in your business too. In the beginning, you're not going to feel comfortable with the notion that it's going to pick up again.
Right.
But you have to get to that point where, like, you know how to handle the slow times.
Well, and you also have to know how to say no, which I know is one of your favorite words. And you wrote an article about it, but I know...
It's the sexiest word in the English language.
I think in the beginning, you do say yes to everything because you want to build your brand and you want to be busy and you want to kind of, have things grow from there. But I've gotten really good at... There are people I've spoken to who could probably be a good source of income for me, but I know that it's not going to be a good situation. I know either they're going to be a nightmare client and it's not going to be worth my time and I'm going to lose my mind. And I've gotten to the point in my life and in my career and having my own business where I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm only going to work with people who make me feel that good juju. And where I feel like when I write for them and we do stuff back and forth and those love fest emails happen, we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. No, you're amazing. No, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I surround myself with because it makes me more productive versus being on eggshells with a client who is making me insane every second. I don't do that anymore.
No, homie, don't play that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of productive, after the break, we're going to talk about what it is that we're doing in those slow times to not go nuts, right? Okay, so thank you for being here. I am Michelle Dempsey.
I am Rachel Sobel.
We're keeping it real. We're babes in business. We're
Really
so many
real.
different things. Blake, take us to break, please.
I love the smile.
We're on break. Thank you for listening to Babes in Business. I am your number one babe in business, your host, Michelle Dempsey of Very Well Written, the business I founded to help other entrepreneurs get their businesses off the ground with great content, strategy, branding, social media, editing, and anything in the way of words. I've got you covered, www.michelledempsey.com, or you can call me at 305-469-7500. Don't forget to tune in every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock to join me and a fellow babe in business talk all things business. Can't wait to see you there.
Hi, this is Rachel Sobel.
And this is Michelle Dempsey. And you're listening to the Keep It Real Moms.
Anytime now. Hi, we're back. That was quick. Super quick. Yeah,
like
we are
shimmying
keeping it
in.
real. We're keeping it really real.
Yeah, really real.
All right. So let's be honest. I had a little bit of the beginning of my year started
You're
personally
a
little rocky. Had some stuff going on at home, had to take care of, a lot of movement, a lot of transition. So for the first time in my entrepreneurial life, I wasn't steadfastly obsessed with my business. I had other crap to figure out.
Your attention was diverted.
Right. But of course that affected business, and I went from a period last year where every day interest, clients, calls, recommendations, referrals, to the first quarter of this year, which I thought I was going to kill it, or my goal was to kill it, to kind of, a lull. I still had my regular clients and all of that, and things were fine in that regard, but I didn't feel as on top, which maybe it was just an ego thing, whatever. But second quarter started, and now I'm like, oh, okay, now what am I going to do? And so I said, you know what? I'm not going to do anything differently. I've networked. Everybody knows who I am. Everybody knows what my business is, at least anybody who might need my services. I'm just going to sit back and chill. Why? Because I've got so much other stuff going on. I'm not going to drive myself nuts. So my quiet period, I spent scheming and plotting. I'm a schemer. I'm a plotter. I knew I had to come up with the next big idea. I wasn't going to be out there, standing on the streets with a sign, please hire me. I had to take, and this is hard for me because I'm an anxious person and I'm a doer and I'm a goer. I had to take a step back. I had to say, it's all going to work itself out. It always does.
Always.
But in the meantime, what's my next big thing? So I started working on my next big thing in the couple of weeks that I was a little bit short on, chaos. I'm back to the chaos. Don't worry, in case you were wondering. But
Spoiler alert.
Life is chaotic, but I thrive. I thrive in chaos. Thrive global.
Okay.
Thrive global. So for me, my downtime is spent scheming and coming up with the next big idea.
Okay.
Because as a creative, there's always lots of stuff floating around in there. The hardest part is as a creative is to sit down and execute.
Yeah. Yeah.
My execution, like I have to get in the moment and then it all gets done. But until I find that moment, it's like I might need some Adderall.
See, mine is a little different. My model's a little different than yours because of the writing that I do. So I have my client writing, which is all business focused and tech and everything from my old life when I worked in public relations. And I have my mommy blogging writing and my lifestyle writing and all that kind of stuff. So what I usually do is I jockey back and forth. If I'm slow on the business side, then I put a really big focus on the lifestyle stuff and I bang out more stuff for HuffPost and all of those things. And then if I'm busier on the, in the other way, then I flip flop it. So I'm always writing, I'm always doing something, but I just change my focus depending on where the traction is coming from. Because otherwise I'd go out of my mind. If I wasn't sitting in front of a computer creating something, I would
well, and here's
not
a piece
function
of advice, and I think I learned this from somebody that has kind of mentored me and really helped me out along the way. When your business is slow, it's a perfect time to learn. And, there's, especially in our industry, in marketing, things are always changing, analytics are changing, algorithms are changing. There's plenty to know and plenty to keep up with that. It's hard to keep up when your business is busy. So it's a great time to learn. And at the same time, it's a great time to watch your competition.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
How can I do it better? How can I do it differently? How are they wasting their time? How can I position myself in a way that still is,
I think collaboration is a really good thing to do too when you're slow. I think if you can reach out to people who might be considered competition or just people that you've been admiring from afar. I mean, isn't that what we're doing right now?
She's so smart.
But no, I think collaboration is a very good way to use your time wisely, but also build relationships within your industry and even cross industry. I like partnering with people who do nothing close to what I do because it lets us kind of mix our audiences together.
Well, you actually connected me to somebody that I could potentially collaborate with. Your marketing friend, Corey, who I'm meeting tomorrow. Yes. I know you're not listening, Corey, but if you are, I'm very excited to meet you.
He might be listening, Corey, from Hardcore Advertising. He might be.
Yeah, we're going to have some coffee.
I think it's awesome.
We're going to have some coffee, some collaborations.
But I think it's so important to have those relationships because even if you're doing something similar or if you're doing something completely different, you never know where you're going to need each other and where you can join forces or even pass clients to another person where it may not be a fit for you. And when you're out on your own like we are, I think those relationships are crucial to what we do because it's your own little network, as if you were in an office passing work to a coworker. Those are your coworkers.
And what's fun about that also is you have, somebody who understands the game, somebody who you can go to and be like, dude, my phone hasn't rang in 3 weeks. Like, what can I do? And to get that advice, people do essentially, like when people ask me for advice, and not always, because they're paying me, I'm happy to give it. Like, I'm happy to help somebody else find their next meal, essentially. So I think, you have to be open to not being ashamed to say, like, things are slow right now. It happens for everybody.
For everyone. And I think when you open that conversation, people come forward and they're like, oh, yeah, me too. Same girl, same. Like, they will say to you, but it wouldn't happen. They wouldn't just volunteer that information because people are embarrassed sometimes, I think, to admit that they took this big step to go off on their own, and it's a little bit, scary. So I think it's important to have.
Exhausting.
It is exhausting. It is. I mean, listen,
I'm not complaining.
I think we're both very grateful for what we do, and I think we love what we do.
Oh, there are
but it's
times.
Not glamorous always. I mean, you have moments, but like it's a lot of hustle.
Right.
A lot.
And I think another thing is, never getting too comfortable in the way that you do things. Like I am very busy all the time. And so I've gotten comfortable with like, I know that like from 12 to 1:30, I'm taking a break. I'm either having lunch with a client, either a business lunch or with someone who's close to me. Like I'm taking that time for myself to de-stress. But then you have to reevaluate. It's very important, no matter how busy or how slow you are, that you sit down at the beginning of each week on a Sunday night and map out your week. Even if you don't have a single project to work on, create a schedule that makes you feel like you're busy. And if the schedule that you have feels so comfortable, but all of a sudden you're busy, you're going to have to be willing to modify it.
I totally agree. And the other thing too is your sources of revenue and income. I have been very careful, and everyone's different. Everyone is built differently when it comes to this. I don't like to have one client that monopolizes or takes up most of my income, because then I would freak out if I lost them. So I am very, very conscious of when I take on new clients that everything is kind of even across the board in terms of what I'm creating for each of those separate accounts. Because I think I have post-traumatic stress disorder from working in PR, where you lose a $15,000 account, and then you worry about who's getting fired, and it's like, you know, survival of the fittest, and it's like a crazy time. I never wanted that feeling again. And so I made the conscious decision when I started to take on writing clients that everything was going to kind of be fair, and that I wasn't going to take on someone who was dangling a ton of money in my face, because if I took them and I gave up my other clients and then I lost them, then I was starting from square one again. So,
well, Rachel, that's when you build a team.
I don't really want a team.
You don't want a team?
No, I don't. I think my where I see my business going and where I see myself going is probably different from a lot of bloggers and mommy bloggers. It's just, my end goal is a book and everything that goes along with it. I don't need, you know, like, I just don't operate in the same way where I feel like I need a bunch of people helping me and underneath me, because then I don't feel like it's my voice. That's what I get worried about when I write and I do all that stuff. Concern. It is legitimately coming from me. So when I hire other people to do that part of it, not the logistical part of it, then I lose a little bit of that, and it makes me nervous for what I do, for specifically what I do.
I understand. It took me 3 months and about 15 different phone calls with different human beings who were interested in writing for me until I found the one. And I praise her. I love her. She knows that. I mean, I was in a bind last week. She came to my house with Bella sick at home so we could sit and work on a project together. She came to the client with me this week because she did support that project so much. And I feel at this point blessed, #blessed, to have a client that I can, a writer on my team that I can rely on.
Yeah.
But it did take a while, you know, to find somebody that no one's going to have my voice.
No.
But she understood it, and she knew how to work with certain things in a blog or in a newsletter that felt like me and sounded like me and looked like my style.
It takes trust to do that. It takes
hard.
trust for people to hire us to do what we do, and then again for you to hire someone. It is a lot to have someone tell your story. You're putting a lot of faith in somebody to do that, which is why I take what I do very seriously, and I know you do as well. But you know, it's
very seriously,
like, very well written.
No, but it's the truth. Like, I was thinking about that today. Like, I'm such a laid-back, easygoing person when it comes to like plans or friends or life in general. But when it comes to what I do, I've learned to become super rigid in my process, in the way I handle things, in the way I respond to clients, and my price points, and everything. Every part of my process has been developed by me learning to become completely obsessed and in love with what I do. You have to feel that way.
You do. And you know, you were talking about learning before. I think that also you never stop learning from your clients. You don't. They teach you also. It's not just like your primary source of learning is you going on Google and looking for webinars to watch about, you know, whatever you're doing. I remember in the very beginning when I would talk to clients and they would say, what do you charge for this? And I would just throw numbers out. I would just, oh, that sounds good. And I finally had people say to me, you need a statement of work. Like, you need all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I do. I'm like a real business. I have a business card and I have, you know, so you learn from the people you're working with also what makes you more productive and what makes you a better provider of services for what you're offering them. And it's very important to keep that in mind.
I have one client in particular who, I don't know if she's teaching me anything, but she motivates me every day.
What is it about her that motivates you, though?
She's always got something else in the works. Like, just when you think you're done, like, you know, we're wrapping up a project and I'll send her final edits and I'm like, I loved working on this with you. I can't wait till your next thing. She's like, don't sleep. I have something coming in the morning. She's always got something cooking, and she motivates me. And now she's in Europe and she's sending me things from Europe. Traveling, working. She's got no kids. She's like living the single travel life. But at the same time, you know, I emailed her today. I'm like, what would it take for me to like traipse around Europe with you, like carefree? She's like, no kids. I'm like, truth. Right. But I think it's important to be to have the types of clients that you find so interesting that they motivate you, that you want to impress them, that you want to do right by them. You know, in the past, I've had clients where I'm like, I don't take those anymore. I want the ones that I have to be better for. I want to be challenged.
Yes.
And when I'm challenged and when that project goes in and I get a great job or thank you so much, this is amazing,
but I love that you said that, because I think that, you know, we had similar backgrounds professionally with public relations and everything. It's a very thankless job.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, there's
Your
times I send a
all they
final
wanna know
edit and
is-
I don't get a response.
Like,
Don't be that
why am I
person.
not in the Wall Street Journal? Why? I mean, it's hard. It's rough, and you're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and you sign up for it, so you know that going in. But one of the biggest motivators for me is when I do get those, thank you so much, this was awesome, or thank you, you're so great to work with. When I get that kind of feedback, it fuels me more, number one, to want to work with those people because it turns into that love fest. But it's very motivating as a writer, being behind the scenes and not being that public facing part of the brand, to get that validation. It feels good, and it's, you're a human being. Like, you can deny it all you want and say you don't care.
Of course it does. No, for me, the best is the email that is like, I was talking about what I needed and somebody said I had to hire you. Like that for me. And also recently I was at an appointment in an office building, and I'm leaving the office building, passing a conference room, and I hear my name in that very moment being spoken, and I peek my head in, and it was a group of women who are having a conference, female attorneys who I now specialize in working with, and they were all talking about, like, who did you use? And I felt like, what? It's
amazing.
I've made it.
Well, because when you know that other
Blake
people...
is telling us we have 1 minute. What if I don't want to get off the air
How
1
did that
minute, Blake?
happen all of a sudden?
I don't know.
I guess we have to wrap up then.
We do have to wrap up, but I really want to say that I'm happy we talked about this.
I am too.
Because it's hard to come out of the entrepreneurial closet and say things are slow. Like, what do I
and
do
you're
now?
not alone. And
complain that you're busy. Of course you want that money and you want to be busy, but it is overwhelming. It's okay to say that.
It's totally normal, though. It is par for the course, and you have to expect that. If you're thinking about taking that leap and you're scared, this is what it's going to be like. You're going to have that back and forth, but it's incredibly rewarding and awesome. And
I would say just find your outlet, because you're going to need a big stress release every single day. Sometimes twice a day. Doesn't always have to be
3 times on Sundays.
Maybe 3 times before noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Michelle Dempsey. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
And just like that, tonight's episode has come to an end, and not because we want it to. Trust me, if you haven't noticed, we would go on and on about anything. But if we're going to keep it really real, we're tired. We've been momming, working, hustling, and catering to our littlest people all at the same time, all day long. It's time for a glass of wine, some trashy TV, and leggings. Until next week, we are the Keep It Real Moms.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management,